This is Will Montgomery, former Washington Redskins center.
Yo, what's good, folks? This is Trey Johnson, the headbanger, yo, and you're listening to Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted. Word.
What's going on, Rally? A little bundled up over there, man.
No, actually, I'm really not bundled up, but I wanted everyone to be able to see what the organization gave out yesterday before the game. If you were one of the lucky, I guess, thousands of people to come in and get one, here you are. This is the new scarf, and I got to tell you, it's very fashionable. It has, as you can see, the Washington logo, as well as the other crest that we have over here. I mean, so they did a good job. Kudos to the organization for giving out vests. Listen to me, vest. That tells you how jacked up I am that the season is over.
I'm jealous, man. I
Scarves.
had no idea. I thought that because I saw people in the stands with it. And I got inside the stadium. I mean, the tailgate was what it was. We barely had any people out there. We lost money this week. I mean, it sucked. I'm not going to lie. I do appreciate Jeff from B. Mitch and Finley for making us a mix. He stayed up and actually made us a DJ mix because we didn't have a DJ that wanted to show up for the game. And I'm walking around and I actually saw you. You were taking pictures with people in the concourse like usual. And it's 40 minutes before kickoff. I've never been inside the stands that early, but I must have missed the giveaway because I didn't see anyone passing those things out, man.
Yeah, when I got there, I was a little late as well, but luckily someone saw me without my scarf and said, "Hey, where's your scarf?" And I said, "I didn't get one." He says, "Hold tight." And he was able to give me a scarf. So I feel fortunate about that.
I'm salty, man. If anyone has a scarf, I will trade you one of the one mission flags for a scarf. Because I was telling Rally, Mrs. Tailgate likes to leave windows open just to piss me off. And it's cold in my house right now, so I could actually use one. But that actually is pretty fresh, man. I saw people walking around thinking, man, why is everyone, were these on sale? Was this like the item of the day? What's going on here?
Yeah, man, this was the move that they gave away. So, and I got to tell you, it's pretty comfortable. It's very soft. So if you can get your hands on one, I say get it.
It does look, I mean, speaking of soft, so it was Fan Appreciation Day. And I'm not
Okay.
talking about the players. I'm talking about, items in the team store. It was 40% off in the team store. But then in small little print on the Jumbotron, as small as that possibly was, it was only on certain things. Like you couldn't get a jersey for 40% off, right? You couldn't get like a helmet for 40% off, but we're collecting and buying stuff for the homeless around DC. So they had Commanders blankets that were $29. So figure, okay, 40% off. That's an extra $12 off.
Yeah.
So I asked the manager, it's like, I'm waiting to see how much money we've raised this past month, and I'd like to buy all your blankets. But can you let me buy them at the 40% off price tomorrow? Because I don't know my number yet. And he said, well, I'm sorry to tell you that the blankets aren't 40% off. It's like, it's not a jersey. It's not a helmet. It's not a football. I'm just talking about a fleece blanket. It's like, well, I can still give you a discount. It's like, okay, well, what's a discount? 25% off. It's like, dude, that's my season ticket holder discount. That's what I'm getting anyway. You're not doing me any favors or giving me a deal. I mean, it is so needless to say, I didn't buy the blankets. I'm not going to buy the blankets. I'm going to get some other blankets and stuff for the homeless around town. It just would have been nice to be able to get those Commanders blankets considering, but I understand that they're trying to get people in the store and they're trying to advertise and this and that. And I'm one of the lemmings that went in, partially because there's heat in the team store. And I was trying to put all my cold weather gear back on before I walked out with the elements. But also I wanted to say, hey, is there anything here worth actually spending that's 40% off, even though I'm on record saying I'm not buying anything until we figure out, are they rebranding again? And oh, by the way, I got a question. I got a clip about that.
Okay. Well, here's the question that I have. How did the Commanders' blankets look?
They look nice, man. There were
Okay.
nice fleece blankets. And so 5 and Below years ago had Redskins blankets. And I bought a couple hundred of them. And I actually had Redskins fans go to the Five and Below stores around their neighborhoods, and they were gobbling them up for me too, because $5 for a nice blanket. And I'm walking around downtown DC, just passing them out to people, just giving them to people during this time of year, and also giving them some other toiletries and things like that. And people loved it. So I wanted to do the same thing with these. I actually have one for myself that I got from Costco. And now, knowing what the Commanders are charging for it, I wish I would have bought a bunch more. But if anyone sees something nice that, we can donate out to the DMV homeless, hey, hit me up, let me know. But
Yeah,
maybe
that's what's up.
in your stocking next year, you might get a Commander's blanket. So we'll see.
We'll see. I was going to go to this team store and just go ahead and cop one. But if you're saying I need to wait 11 months, I just may have to do that.
Well, you got your scarf to keep you warm, because I'm not gonna lie, it does look nice and cozy. You get a couple of those. I got my flag that'll just maybe keep me, I guess, water resistant. So
You'll keep you'll keep your toes warm.
Well, it'll stop the tears from messing up my new shirt over here and, falling on the flag instead. So
there shouldn't be any tears. The last tear that you should have shed, if you were going to shed one, was last night at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. That's when you should have shed your last tear.
There were going to be tears because I put money on the Cowboys to cover. And at a certain point, we were actually looking decent in that game. And then I realized it's 4 quarters, not 1.5. So my bet should be okay. And that number 2 pick should be good. So no tears came out of me yesterday.
Well, I got to tell you, man. So during the game, as you said, if we were the first half champs, we'd be good to go. But when we were looking good and Dak threw the pick, I was turning around.
Pass in the air, man.
Yeah, the tip pass pick. I was turning around to all the Cowboy fans, which numbered everyone. They outnumbered everyone. I was saying, "Are you entertained? Are you entertained?" And they were getting pissed at me. And then, of course, as they did what the Cowboys normally would do, come back on us. Everyone started shouting, "Are you entertained?" And I would say, "Yes, I am, because if we lose, we win, and if we win, we win." So
I don't know if we win, we win part, if I agree with you there, but it was nice because the Patriots had to lose, and we knew by the time our game started that the Pats lost, and the Saints had to win, and the Saints crushed the Falcons. So, I mean, we were good there with that number 2 pick. All we had to do was lose. And all of a sudden, Eric Bieniemy, it's like he found a chapter in his playbook that he forgot all season. We're doing end arounds. We're doing flea flickers. We're doing a halfback toss with a pass back to Sam Howell. I mean, where was this creativity all season?
Yeah.
What the hell?
And I made a video prior to going in saying, okay, this is obviously going to be Ron Rivera's last game. Will he be true to being riverboat this game because he's got nothing to lose, or will he play it cautiously? And oddly enough, he came out on almost every 4th and who knows what going for it. And like you, I'm saying, dang, man, why couldn't we have done this all season? But we had to wait till the last game to 4th and 3, 4th and 1, 4th and 4. I mean, it was crazy.
Well, you saw linemen coming in, extra linemen coming in. You're going jumbo. I mean, it's just, that's what makes me so frustrated. It's like I was on Fox 5 this morning, and one of the questions, I'm hanging out with my man Easy Street, and one of the questions they asked was, who do you want to be the new head coach? And Easy said Eric Bieniemy. And if it wasn't on live TV, I might have cursed at that point. I almost wanted to say, hell no. There is zero chance.
Oh, hell no.
I mean, Bieniemy all of a sudden just finds that secret chapter in his playbook and then just starts doing it. It's like, it was way too long for this to happen, knowing he ain't going to be here. And there is zero chance I want Bieniemy to be the head coach coming up. And regardless of say, if you guys are listening to this, you know that Ron Rivera is gone. And we all know my disdain for Ron. And I don't want to celebrate someone being fired. For me, it's celebrating the fact that our rebuild can begin. Black Monday, obviously, it's because all of these people are getting let go. And don't get me wrong, I don't feel bad for Ron Rivera. I don't feel bad for these head coaches that are being fired because they're still under contract. Their contracts are guaranteed. He's still making $8 million next year in 2024, and he's going to be living on his beach house over at Pebble Beach just hanging out on the golf course. So, I mean, you're definitely not going to see any tears from me, but I
Making
think
money.
it's karma to cheer on someone actually being let go. But from my standpoint, we finally get a chance to do this right. And this is actually what Josh Harris had to say about the moves he made this morning.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I think, as you all have heard, we've decided to part ways with Ron Rivera. We appreciate Ron's efforts and everything he did for the franchise. I mean, obviously, he came here during a tumultuous time period, the ownership change, and he really added leadership. But clearly, we weren't good enough this year. We didn't get it done on the field, and so we've decided to go into a new direction. And I think, as you probably heard, I'm going to be leading that search, both for a head of football operations as well as a head coach. And I'm going to be assisted by my partners, Irvin Magic Johnson, Mitch Rails, and David Blitzer, as well as a couple very well-known sports executives, Bob Myers, who I've known for many years and have a tremendous amount of respect for, and Rick Spielman, who obviously is a 30-year football executive of the year, obviously 10 years with the Vikings. Obviously Bob Myers built one of the amazing sports teams of the last decade in the Golden State Warriors. They were tough to compete with, so I got to know him. And, even though this season was hard for me and hard for us, it's hard to win 4 games. From my point of view, we are coming out of this with poised for a great future. A lot of draft capital, a lot of cap space, and I'm lucky enough to be supported by an amazing ownership group, and obviously we think we're an attractive destination for the next generation of leadership. And so this is probably amongst the most important jobs I have as a managing partner, and it's important that I do this personally and get this right, and that we bring in the right leadership.
Can I tell you how refreshing it is to actually have an owner that doesn't start a press conference off with Happy Thanksgiving and bumbles and stumbles his way through and actually does interviews and talks to press and is a grown-up? I mean, this is what the other half must have felt like for 25 plus whatever many years.
Man, as you, it's amazing to know that, hey, we have what seems to be a competent owner for a change. And when he said Happy Thanksgiving, was it Christmas time?
It was January 1st or January 2nd, because that's how he introduced Ron Rivera, because we beat them during Thanksgiving. And it was such a stupid joke that just
no one got it.
No one got it, because that was just the type of person he was.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm sure I'll get hate, but whatever.
We don't have to worry about that. That side of the house is gone, and I'm sure he was watching the press conference from the yacht in his Lady S on the IMAX theater. So hey, let him do him, and it's time for us to do what we need to do on our end.
Amen, man. And oddly enough, they didn't fire Martin Mayhew or Marty Hurney. They kept the current front office, and it's saying here in an ESPN article, the Commanders' current front office, including GM Martin Mayhew and Executive VP of Football Player Personnel Marty Hurney, will remain on staff through the search process. The new head of football operations and head coach will determine their long-term futures with the Commanders. So I was kind of shocked that they just didn't completely clean house. And on top of that, before people ask, Eric Bieniemy is still here. And I was on record last pod saying, I don't think they're going to get rid of Bieniemy right away. I think they're going to give it a little bit of time. And this is actually what Josh Harris had to say about potentially giving EB a shot at being the new head coach.
What did you make of Eric Bieniemy's season as offensive coordinator, and will you be considering him for the head coaching vacancy?
Yeah, so I've enjoyed working with Eric, and obviously he's had success over the years. And I'd say that, I spoke to Eric today, and, he's hard at work managing our franchise. And I look forward to hopefully, if I could write the script, having our senior football operations executive in place, and then approaching the coaching search with Eric and others.
Are you surprised that EB's still here?
No, I'm not. I'm not surprised. As I told you on a couple of previous pods, the way that I would attack the ownership is throw it back in their face what they inherited, basically 60 days out, 30 days out, and saying, you guys couldn't make any changes. Basically, neither could I. This is what I inherited. If you allow me to bring in the personnel that I need, we can make this franchise and offense work. We saw what Jacoby Brissett could do just in a short period of time with the right-minded person. So I can see how that would make them say, okay, we may continue to give him a shot once like he said, the higher ups are in place to interview him. It may work, it may not work. So as far as the house being clean per se, we knew that I felt that the only person that would get fired was Ron Rivera and today, but no one's technically safe though, bro. That's the thing. Right now, there's no reason to fire everybody right now and clean house. They're gonna meticulously do their due diligence, and you'll start to see those names, if they are gonna go, get picked off week by week or month by month.
Yeah, you technically cannot interview for a head coach if you have a head coach on staff. So you can't request interviews with other teams if you have someone currently in that position. Mm-hmm. So there's ways around it. They're talking about bringing in a head of football operations. They're talking about bringing in a GM and just different things like that at that point. And for those of you that are wondering, maybe they're keeping Bieniemy on because of the Rooney Rule. Well, the Rooney Rule was adjusted. I don't remember exactly what it was prior, but in 2022, the rule requires that NFL teams must conduct outside interviews. So with outside the organization, not within the Commanders team itself, with at least 2 diverse candidates from the Career Development Advisory Panel list, or a diverse candidate not currently employed by the team. So that means Bieniemy would not count to meet that Rooney Rule. They'd have to bring in someone else. And I've got a list of all the other coaches they brought in. But before we get to that, Ron Rivera himself actually came out with a statement. I think you've got that over there.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, from Ron's perspective, I mean, he basically summed up everything that we've all wanted to hear from him, and it basically reads like this, and this is from Ron Rivera, and I'm going to read this to everyone. And this comes from Ron Rivera. I want every Washington fan to know how much I appreciate your unwavering support. Through all the name changes, roster moves, non-football headlines, and seasons that did not meet your expectations, you still stood by this team. We did win an NFC East title in 2020, but we fell short since then, and for that, I am truly disappointed. You are loyal, passionate fans, and I only see good things ahead for you all. Thank you to Josh Harris and his partnership group for the past 5.5 months. I enjoyed working with you, and I deeply appreciated the engagement and support you gave me and the team throughout this season. It was evident from the very moment we met that you are going to be a great steward for this team. You have already shown the fans your full commitment to rebuilding this franchise and renewing the unshakable bond between this team and the entire Washington community. I am lucky to have known you, and Washington is lucky to have you. I'm going to miss the players and coaches more than I can express. Your professionalism toughness, work ethic, and dedication to the game is a credit not just to the franchise or the game itself, but to each of you. You all showed up every day, willing to play hard for the team, and that commitment will serve you well as better days are ahead. You will always have a place in my heart, and my door will always be open to you. To the coaches, thank you for your hard working 24/7 commitment to this team. I am grateful for your dedication to your craft and your mission to make each of your players best they can be. I want you to know that you made a meaningful, measurable difference in every game we played. My life has always been football, and it is a wonderful life. As a player and now as a coach, I've watched in amazement every week as the impossible is done again and again on the field. I have tremendous respect for the NFL because all of that it does to lift communities and bring people together. Football has become an integral part of America, and America is a part of what is truly great about football. As for Washington, it wasn't easy, and there is a lot more to be done. But I believe we began to change the culture of this organization in meaningful ways. And on a personal note, it has been one of the greatest honors of my career to serve this franchise and those who cheer it on every week. Finally, to the people in this room, thank you for your professionalism, for your love of the game, and I'll see you down the road. And that's from Ron Rivera.
Yeah, and the Commanders released that statement from Coach this morning. So timeline, they didn't let him go yesterday. He got let go at 8:21 a.m. roughly. And this came out at 10:30. And wondering, I didn't think Ron was going to be on a podium someplace giving this. But the last time he was on the podium, well, not the last time, but Friday, he did a media session, and Friday's media sessions are not televised. They're not streamed for whatever reason. I don't know why, and it's very annoying and it drives me crazy. Luckily, our DC media members actually caught a clip of Ron, in my opinion, making his kind of last excuse for why things didn't work out here. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to listen to this, and I have willing to bet a bunch of our listeners haven't either. But I want to get your thoughts after you hear this clip.
Before, or as much as you have in general?
It's interesting, and I don't know if people will agree with me or believe in what I'm saying, but hell with that. I managed for about 3.5 years. While I was here, I managed. Probably the last 5 weeks I've coached. Getting back and doing the defensive coordinator stuff was a thrill. It really was. You can ask some of the guys. That's been fun. That really has.
He managed for the last 3.5 years. He didn't coach. Meanwhile, it's a coach-centric methodology. He's in charge of everything. It's the buck stops with him. That's why he's the one that's gone today, and others are still here. What do you think he meant when he said that?
Sounds like he's saying that his hands were tied. But you asked for that. You asked for all those different roles and to wear those different hats within the organization when you came on board. I think that maybe what you should have done is delegated your authority better to bring in what you needed and who you needed so that you could do more, if you will, do more with less or less with more, however you want to look at it. But don't cry over the spilled milk now. I mean, I understand you're on your way out, but it sounds like you're trying to say that someone held you back from being able to do what you needed to do.
Yeah, and he actually, during that same presser, was saying that he believes that the team is going to go with a GM first and head coach after the fact. And this is actually what Josh Harris said about his basically philosophy for how it's going to go in the future.
How do you envision the general structure for the front office? You mentioned obviously the head of football operations, but what is your vision for the structure? And then what are you looking for in candidates to fill that role?
Yeah, so we're looking for the best people to build an elite franchise that's going to consistently compete and win championships. So that's kind of our goal. In terms of the structure, obviously I start with talent. You want the best talent. And sometimes, you let the talent just sort of influence the structure. But my orientation, obviously, is that being the head of football operations, being in essence in that lead role, that's an 80-hour-a-week job. Being a head coach, that's an 80-hour-a-week job. I think there are two roles there. And so I think it's harder. I mean, there are certainly individuals that control everything. I think it's increasingly hard. So my orientation is not to do that. But on the other hand, I'm going to I'm going to really be somewhat flexible around talent. So that's kind of how I'm going to think about it, and I hope that answered your question a bit.
So he left himself an out, saying that there are some individuals, paraphrasing, that can handle both, but one person basically doing a 160-hour-a-week job leads me to believe that he doesn't want that to happen because it's just too much for one person to juggle. And during his opening statement, he talked about two names, Bob Myers and Rick Spielman. So for those that don't know, Bob Myers is the former Golden State Warriors general manager. And yes, you heard that correctly, the Golden State Warriors. He's a two-time NBA Executive of the Year who built a dynasty in Golden State, and they got 4 titles over 8 years. So he will specifically take lead in identifying, coordinating interviews with candidates for both the top football operations and head coaching jobs. Now,
the good thing.
Shoot.
Go ahead.
No, shoot.
I was going to say the good thing about that is we all remember how poor Golden State was at one point in time. They were the laughingstock.
Oh yeah.
And what he did, if you can envision this, having clay and water and molding it to where he wanted, splicing, getting rid of XYZ part, bringing in this part, and molding it to his vision. And now look at where they are. So if that's anything that we can look forward to, it's that the man knows how to put some things together. So that's very exciting. And I'm so happy that all this basically happened the first day after the season. And this is something that I would have wanted to happen. I would have wanted this to happen before or after, if you will, my ticket prices went up. My season ticket prices I wanted to see these type of beforehand. Yeah, I wanted to see these type of moves done before my season tickets went up, and because now once again, and I hate to sound as I've got the whole Ashburn aspect of things, but all through the years we'd get little nuggets and we'd be thrown right back into it, and I'm sure that you're just like me. Even though nothing has been taking place on the field as of yet, no player personnel has taken place, but I'm almost back into it again.
I hear you, man. And actually, Bob Myers came out with his own statement that got released today at 9:30 this morning. I think you've got that for us as well.
Yeah, Bob says, I've been fortunate to know Josh Harris for many years, and his commitment to building championship caliber teams is what drew me here. In my experience, championship infrastructure begins with a strong ownership group that prioritizes culture and invest in attracting the industry's most talented and innovative leaders. In speaking with Josh and his team, it's clear they will do everything it takes to build out a world-class organization, one that can win on the field and make a positive mark in the DMV community. This is the type of opportunity that really inspires me, and I look forward to contributing to the next chapter of this storied franchise. Gives me goosebumps.
So this isn't the first time this has actually happened before. The Cleveland Browns did something like this back in 2000. I want to say it was 2001, something around, no, 2010, regardless. They brought in Paul DePodesta. So he worked with different MLB teams as a chief strategy officer. Now, that's also the same guy that's responsible for bringing in Deshaun Watson. And that contract hasn't exactly worked out well. But I trust Josh Harris to bring in the right people, and it's already taking effect. So Bob Myers is friends and classmates with one of the GM head of football operations candidates that everybody wants. So the Commanders have made a bunch of requests. One of the requests they made is the assistant GM for the 49ers, Adam Peters. So 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters was requested to interview with the Commanders head of football ops job, and will take the interview tomorrow. And it's significant because he actually turned down requests for interviews from the Titans and Cardinals last year. So according to Mike Garafolo, he knows Bob Myers. And I think, let's see, going back here, they went to college together and they go very far back.
Josh, John Kime, ESPN. I'm curious with Bob and Rick, we know the resumes. What is it about them personally that made you want them to get involved, and what will their roles be beyond this search?
Yeah, so obviously I'll start with Bob. You know, Bob Myers is a winner. Like, who wouldn't want him on your team trying to help your franchise? He knows how to identify talent. He knows how to build winning franchises, winning cultures. I mean, he's obviously not a football person. He's not been around football, but he's an amazing sports executive, and I'm, you know, really happy to have him helping. He'll be around as an advisor to me. He's not going to be involved with X's and O's, but he'll be involved through the search process and beyond, you know, as it relates to the Washington Commanders, helping us build an amazing franchise, an amazing culture, and a winning culture. Obviously, Rick Spielman brings a wealth of football knowledge, the ins and outs of football. He was executive of the year with the Vikings, you know, with many other teams, and kind of brings that knowledge of football that you need, you know, when you're interviewing candidates. And so he's going to be helping us through the search process, and we'll see after that. I'm not sure.
So just to correct, Myers went to the same high school as Adam Peters, and they're both UCLA alums. Says they've had quite a relationship for some time, and Peters is a strong candidate for the GM job. Adam Peters has been in the NFL for 20 plus years, 3 Super Bowl championships, former director of college scouting, and went to high school at UCLA, spent some time with the Patriots, Broncos, and 49ers. So he is a hot candidate for this GM position. And we'd be lucky if we could get someone like him. I mean, the man has been able to find talent in the later rounds of the NFL. And, you know, George Kittle, Brock Purdy. I mean, there are so many studs on that 49ers team that aren't first-round picks. And this is one of the guys that was in charge of it. And the reason why we're getting in a bunch of assistant GMs is because a bunch of those GMs, they don't want to go anywhere. So we're trying to get the guys that also helped build that staff. And Rick Spielman did help with the actual Minnesota Vikings. So he left the Vikings in 2021. And he's being tasked to look for a coach that can create lasting winning culture. And this is a quote, similar to the Patriots, Ravens, and Chiefs. So this advisory committee has Josh Harris, Mitch Rales, Magic Johnson, David Blitzer, Bob Myers, and Rick Spielman. And a lot of fans thought that Bob and Rick were coming on as a GM or as a president of football ops. No, these guys are being brought in here to help find the new guys and help steer us in the right direction. And to me, this is what Dan never did. He never brought in the right people. He just brought in the people that would say yes to him and that would agree with him. And I don't feel that these guys are going to do the same thing. And that's another reason why I'm so excited, because that committee, Mitch Rales, who put his hard-earned money in this. Magic Johnson does nothing but build winners. David Blitzer, same thing. So that's why I am just ecstatic that you said it would have been great to know this before they just smacked us over the head with that renewal bill and then said, oh, we'll make it up to you by giving you this stupid chain that they keep texting me about that I never picked up at the Cowboys game. But it's exciting, man. I
You're
do
a
know that
2024 season ticket holder.
Oh, I am not picking that up. I am not going to wear it. They can keep that and throw it in a landfill, and maybe there will be someone on a video down the road that wears that thing because they found it in trash someplace. But do you have any concerns about a guy from the NBA coming in to try and help mold our NFL franchise?
No, I don't have a problem at all. And the reason is, even though they're totally different sports, you got to have people in the right places who can evaluate. And as you said, we're not going to just stay on Dan, but Dan, he just did it himself. And if it felt right to him, he went with it. Even if it didn't feel right, he went with it. And I think that hurt us. Versus now, we're taking the onus off of Josh Harris and putting it on someone who has done it over and over and over again, and they've found winners, and that's what we need. This thing needs to be revamped from the top to the bottom, bottom to the top, bottom to the top, and that's what's happening right now. It's being revamped, and it's a great feeling. And I, for one, told you as well as everyone else, I have my popcorn ready, and right now the show is looking really good.
It's crazy, man, because I've been sitting here and I keep a notebook of all the stuff we're going to talk about today. And as of this morning, let's see, they put in requests. So they put in a request to interview Adam Peters, which we talked about. They requested to interview Chiefs assistant GM Mike Bergonzi. They put a request to interview the Browns assistant GM Glenn Cook for the new head of football ops. They put a request in with the Bears to interview assistant GM Ian Cunningham for the new head of football ops. They put in a request to interview Ravens associate head coach and defensive line coach Anthony Weaver, a request to interview Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, to interview Lions OC Ben Johnson and DC Aaron Glenn for the head coaching position. And they contacted agent Don Yee, who is the agent for Jim Harbaugh, to see if he can come in here. Now, there are a bunch of rules so you don't get hit with tampering. Teams cannot interview a head coach candidate who is employed by another NFL team until the third day after the conclusion of that team's Week 18 game. So if a team played on Saturday, we can't talk to them until Tuesday. If a team played on Sunday, we can't talk to them until Wednesday. Teams that play in the wild card round of the playoffs, coaches cannot be interviewed until the following Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on which day their game is played. And then no in-person interviews are permitted with candidates employed by other teams until after all wild card games have ended. Before the end of the wild card games, in-person interviews can only happen with candidates employed by the team hiring a head coach or candidates not currently employed by the NFL. So they're putting these requests in. They don't have to be granted by the other teams, but it's nice to know that they're already doing their due diligence to help find us someone, to help find us a new head of football ops, to help find us a new coach. And I mean, we weren't the first team to fire a coach. I want to say the Chargers fired their coach earlier on during the season. The Falcons fired their head coach at midnight, basically last night. They let go Arthur Smith. I mean, they waited till whatever time this morning, but they've hit the ground running. And this is actually what Josh Harris had to say about the timeline on when he expects these hires to happen.
A lot of reporting today about requests for interviews all over the league, coach and GM positions. Ideally, what's your timeline for all this? And what's the timeline for the folks that are still here when they kind of find out their future?
Yeah, so I'm going to run a thorough but rapid process. I mean, obviously, we need the next leadership here because we got a lot of work to do. we have the draft, we have the off season, we have a lot of draft capital that we need to get prepared for. Ultimately, free agency, combines. But on the other hand, this is a really important decision, and so it's going to be a rapid but thorough process. I mean, ideally, you would have the head of the front office in place before you ultimately select a coach, because obviously that's important. But look, again, like, we're not in full control of the time frame, because what we're ultimately trying to do is end up with the best people, and the best people generally have alternatives. So that's what I would say. In terms of, I spoke with the front office leadership and the coaching staff, some of the coaches today, and I appreciate that from their point of view. There's uncertainty, but I've just asked them to be a part, to bear with us, and to just to do their jobs, right? To continue to run the football team. And everyone to a person has said that they care about the club, they care about the franchise, and that they want to be part of the solution. And so, obviously, without the head coach and without the head of the front office in place, there's some uncertainty for them, and I respect that and am sympathetic to it. But on the other hand, they're professionals, and so we're working through it.
Thorough but rapid. And what I was going to say is, what I like about this is it feels good to be a part of transparency. Yeah. I love being able to hear everything that they're thinking about doing. May not come to fruition, all of it, but the fact is they're telling us. And I feel as though I'm a part, or we are a part of the hiring process, even though we really aren't. But just to know what's going on behind closed doors means a lot, man.
We joked last pod that maybe as another bonus for raising our season ticket prices, let us see those interviews that you guys are having with these candidates. And obviously it's all in fun. We know that's not going to happen, but to a degree, you definitely feel like you're involved in it, that they're keeping us up to speed with what's going on. And the only thing that annoys me is that Ian Rappaport, or I don't know who the hell it was, maybe it was Adam Schefter, is the one that broke the news about Ron Rivera being let go. To me, it's disrespect for the men and women that cover this team on a daily basis, that grind in, grind out, like Nikki Javala, JP Finley, John Kine, Ben Stanley. Like, those guys should have been the ones that you let that go to. They shouldn't have had to.
All of those people.
Yeah, they shouldn't have had to tweet that from this national guy that probably hadn't stepped foot in the media annex over there in Ashburn in who knows how long. So that's the only thing that's kind of annoying, but I guess that is whatever. I don't know if that's like some secret handshake with the devil that Schefter made years ago for him to get all that. I mean, you remember when they said Dan Snyder sent basically a goon outside Bruce Allen's house to kind of watch him, and Bruce made him coffee and like walked over to the car?
Yeah.
I feel that Schefter might do the same thing with everybody else, man. I'm just saying allegedly that, because he's got to have something on this to get all this news.
Schefter is a sports TMZ. That's what Schefter is. He's got people, agents all around all sports agencies. And I'm sure he probably pays them, and as soon as they find out something, to report back to him, and then he'll give them the cut.
That, or he gives probably the best Christmas presents to everybody. Like, when that box shows up from Schefter, it's not a pair, like, it's not like pears from Harry and David, or like a fruitcake that you're going to use as a doorstop. It's actually like a nice Nespresso coffee machine or something that someone wants. So like, maybe it's a Peloton treadmill or something, because Ron's put on a little bit of weight during the season because all he did was manage instead of coach. But I don't know. It is nice to see this transparency with the guys, and that they're going to be thorough in this process. But as a fan base, we're not going to be left in limbo for a long time. And there are people out there that were on my timeline saying, well, they should do this now. We should bring in free agents now. Like, free agency doesn't start till March. You cannot do that now. There are rules set in place.
Simmer down.
Yeah.
Simmer down. Hold the ponies. We're getting there.
It's definitely going to happen. Let's just enjoy the offseason as it comes and go from there. And this is actually what Josh Harris had to say as his message to the fans.
Everyone's frustrated. You're frustrated. Fans are frustrated. What's the message you want to give to this fan base to have them believe still that the ship is heading in the right direction?
Yeah, so my message to the Washington fan base is thank you. You guys showed up in droves. You believed in us. We sold out every game, even with a 4-win season. Now, granted, there are a few visiting fans there, but that's on us. We're not in the playoffs, and so thank you for showing up. And the future is bright. We have a lot of cap space. We have a great ownership group. We're very committed to winning for this city, and look forward to showing you, in addition to telling you, over the next series of years.
So, do you think Josh Harris was telling a joke when he said there were a few visiting fans there?
Yeah, it was a little dig. Yeah, it was a little dig, but at the same time, he knows that, hey, he got a lot of that gate from the door.
Oh,
So I mean,
yeah.
60%, if I'm not mistaken, and the away team is 40%. So it's no different than when the Commanders bum rush like LA and their owner got 60% and we got 40% of the door. So it's what it's supposed to be. And speaking of which, 60-40, it was probably 60-40 Cowboy fans.
No way. I was going to ask. There was zero chance it was 60, dude. It was
70-30?
At least 85-15, dude. We were
okay.
But there were nowhere near that many Commanders fans in those stands, man. And the only nice thing was the Cowboys fans behind me, they were actually all respectful. And we just kept seeing the score for the Eagles game and then actually agreeing that the Eagles suck. And we were okay there. But
yeah, wonder what happened with them.
I have no idea. And I was shocked to see that they didn't pull Dak when they could because they were up by 25 points. And the Eagles were losing 24-0. So they still had Dak, CeeDee, Pollard. So I'm sitting here, and I never want to wish someone injured. But at a certain point, if he pulled a hammy, I wouldn't have been upset. You know, I actually would have been like, hey, you know what? That's what you get. Because it was a 4th and 1, and they still went for it on us, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and they're still trying to run the score up because they were trying to break a record that they had for however many points in a season and this and that. And it's whatever. It was just kind of frustrating because I was like, all right, well, maybe you get what you know, because a lot of teams would bench their starters at that point come week 18. Like the Ravens didn't start Lamar Jackson. They didn't start a bunch of their guys because they already clinched. So why do
Same
it?
with Kansas City. They didn't start a lot of people,
Dallas already clinched the NFC East. They already clinched the 2nd seed at that point. Yes, the game wasn't over, but hate to break it to people, we weren't coming back. I mean, at a certain point, I actually thought that Jake Fromm from State Farm was actually going to get in.
I thought that Fromm was going to come in as well, but he didn't. And Sam probably played his last starting game as a quarterback for the Commanders. I see him being the backup if they decide to keep him, which they will because he still had a rookie deal. But he'll be the backup quarterback, and keep your eyes open for this game tonight. That's going to really thrust people into the limelight.
Yeah, people wondering, it's Monday, January 8th. Riley's talking about the national championship game. So probably by the time you listen to this, the results will be out, and you get to see if any of those guys maybe rock up the draft charts. And speaking of which, we've got the number 2 pick. So because we lost and because our strength of schedule was lower, we end up getting that pick. And thank goodness, because I think we can actually do some damage with that. You know, we ended up the season 4-13. So did the Patriots. So did the Cardinals. But we lost 8 games in a row, and our strength of schedule was a .512. The Pats was a .522. So because the Saints won, that actually made their strength of schedule go up higher for the Pats. And we're good. We'll get into it. There's a lot of fans out there that don't want a quarterback. I don't agree with them. I do think the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, I listened to his press conference and a bunch of his quotes. He basically said goodbye to Chicago after that team where they lost to the Packers. Yeah, he basically, goodbye. It's been fun. I'll get a chance to go someplace else if they're going to move on. I really think Chicago is going to go with Caleb Williams. And, I'll ask you later when you get a chance to take a look who you want in the draft. And the thing is, it doesn't matter what any of us want. All that matters is whoever this new guy wants, whoever this advisory committee wants to bring in and they want. We all are going to have our opinions, but that's why you and I are sitting on the other side of this microphone and a bunch of our listeners are sitting on the other side of their keyboards or cell phones tweeting. But ultimately, yeah, it's a crapshoot. But we don't know when we're going to get a chance to pick this high again. And I'm sick and tired of hearing fans say we should have taken Joe Burrow instead of Chase Young. We should have taken Tua. We should have taken Herbert. Hindsight's always 20/20. And guess what?
Ship sailed.
Yeah. You get a chance to right that wrong now with the second pick in the draft, and we'll see what happens from there. But one thing that was interesting to hear out of a locker room cleanout today was from a different Sam. Did you hear Sam Cosmi's comments today?
No.
All right. Grab your popcorn.
Uh-oh. Hit pause. Let me make some real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to run the ball more. Me personally, being our O-line, give us a better chance to be more balanced. I felt like we weren't balanced. I think we're 30th in the league in attempts and runs. I love running the ball, and I felt like it was just nothing but like drop back passes. So I just wanted to be more balanced. To be completely honest with you, just run the rock, please. So that's all I would have to say for that. Yeah. Let's run the ball. Let's be balanced. Let's, take advantage of and utilize our guys that like B-Rob. I mean, kid's special. Just hand him the rock. We'll do the job up front as a unit. Don't worry about that. But yeah, that was my big thing this year. Just wanted to do that more for sure.
Shocked to hear that.
So for all of my friends that grew up, I'd say in the 80s, they had this truck that was called Bigfoot. And Bigfoot was basically the first monster truck. He just threw Bieniemy up under the Bigfoot truck. I mean, he threw him all up under the Bigfoot truck. The monster truck just smashed all over Eric Bieniemy, Coach Bieniemy. Oh my gosh! I bet Coach was like, "What? For real? Oh, okay, okay, wow, oh my gosh!" But hey, that's what he felt, and you're cleaning out your locker, and all these things go through your mind. What could we have done differently? And boom, there it is.
Yeah. I mean, I was shocked to hear that come out of Cosmi because he isn't really a vocal guy. And for him to throw EB under the bus, especially considering that EB is still his assistant head coach at this point, and he wasn't the only one. There were other guys that came out. And today is locker room cleanout day. So the media is walking around, and it's hard to hear because it's not being recorded by the team. It's not being streamed. You got a bunch of different beat reporters that are walking around with microphones, cell phones, and different guys are asking questions. So we couldn't hear the question that was actually asked to Sam, but we kind of get the gist of what they asked Sam.
Yeah.
And the fact is the Commanders averaged 21 rush attempts a game. That was 32 out of 32 teams in the NFL. Not good at all. And I do agree. And that's why I was saying on Fox this morning, I don't think Bieniemy should be the head coach. And I do think that the new head of football ops is probably going to talk to some of these players because Sam Cosmi was graded one of the best offensive players that you have on this team. Looking at his PFF grade, Cosmi got a 65.6 pass blocking yesterday, which actually isn't bad. Run blocking didn't do too well. But everyone looking at it says he actually had a good game against Micah Parsons, even though, he gave up a couple of sacks. Sam didn't look as good. I was still surprised, though, and I do have a feeling that the GM, the head football ops, whoever it's going to be, is going to come in and talk to some of these players and kind of get what they want to say. And this was a tweet that came out from Logan Thomas. And I was kind of surprised to hear this one, too. And this is from Nikki Javala. Well, I think we had our ups and downs with him. I might be the only one to say it, but we had our ups and downs. We had some good. We had some bad. It's one of those things where something new comes in after you've been used to something else for a couple of years, and sometimes you can butt heads. But I respect him for coming to work every day and being the same person every day. So I don't know who the other person is going to be, the same person. Basically saying that he butted heads with EB as well. And we did wonder, who was the player that complained to Rivera about EB being too harsh, about pushing them too hard, and this and that? And you get two vets on your team that are actually making these statements after the fact now. I wonder if they're the smoking gun.
Well, or having to stay late. Who knows? Inquiring minds definitely want to know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the record reflects who we as a team are. And just be careful what you ask for. That's all I'll say, because the new person that comes in, if by chance a new person does come in, could be worse than Bieniemy. So you gotta be careful of what you ask for.
Oh, amen. The grass isn't always greener, and I think these players are in for a rude awakening.
Oh, yeah.
This ownership group is going to bring someone in to take these guys to town, to basically light a fire under these guys, because it's been an embarrassing 8 weeks. I mean, we haven't won a game in forever. We hadn't won a home game since September 10th. I mean, that's bad it's been. And other than the head coach and the GM, the next question on a bunch of other Commanders fans' minds or Washington fans' minds is, are we going to have another rebrand? And Josh Harris got asked that question during the press conference today.
You've spent a year now with the Commanders, the branding, the name. Have you had discussions about where to go from there, and what have those been like in terms of the name and the branding?
Yeah, as you can see, we're a little busy. In addition to basically picking a new head of the front office, a new coach, I see Mark in the front there. We're busy at work, working on the next improvements to our stadium in terms of fan experience, in terms of premium areas, and fixing a lot of different things and investing in the stadium. We're going to be rolling out a big investment program in the next few weeks, and there's an enormous amount of detail that the business staff and some of the ownership group are working on. And then we've got, obviously, our new home and thinking about that. And so right now our focus today is on sports first and foremost, and then these other things. And so, those are our focuses right now.
Good. So for everybody listening, the way Rally Captain interprets it is, leave the freaking name thing alone for now. We've got bigger fish to fry. It goes back to something that I said a long time ago. I just spent $6 billion on this team. I don't have the money or the capital right now to try to change anything except for things that are going to make this place a better product for you guys. And the name is not going to make it a better product. So leave it alone for now.
Yeah, and I actually put a tweet out because Nikki Javala basically quoted what Josh Harris had said, football is all that matters right now. Those of you who care more about changing the Commander's name versus the new head coach or who we should draft with the second pick, you guys got your priorities backwards. And do you remember when if anybody tweeted anything about the Redskins, the only thing people would reply back with was fire Bruce Allen? Just hashtag fire Bruce Allen. That was just all over the place.
Yeah.
So basically everything I put out there now people just reply back with change the name. Change the name. And all I do is click on those 3 little dots and hit mute. And I'm telling you, man, this list is just growing and growing. But there are those of you out there, that's all that you care about. But as you can see, a majority of this show was about what mattered. Football, not firing Ron Rivera, but about Bob Myers and Rick Spielman and this advisory committee and where this franchise is going down the road, because the future's bright and we keep talking about it. But you had Eric Bickle on the Junkies saying, "Oh, we're a franchise team now. You know, we're gonna have a new rookie quarterback coming in here and this and that." And I love EB. I'm not trying to mock and make fun of him, but to me, there are some Washington fans out there where your glass has been so half empty this entire time. Just try and think with Rally's positivity for a change that things are going to be better. And maybe you'll start actually believing it and feeling that way. And then eventually we'll start seeing those results from finally a transparent ownership group.
When the positivity starts to hit, you better turn that frown upside down and give us a smile. Because I told you guys, we all want to win, but we're going to have some losers in there. Do not allow what happens on the field dictate your happiness. I will always be happy. And before we go, that Dallas Cowboy fan, or excuse me, that Dallas Cowboy player jumped up into my section and I pushed him away. Now, for everybody that said that I was smiling and I was happy, you're wrong. I was smiling because I couldn't believe that our team let that happen, first off. And I was saying, get out of our end zone. Get out of here. That's what I was saying.
Are you sure that's what you were saying? I think I heard this.
How about them Cowboys?
You'll never hear me say that, brother. The only time you'll hear that is on the recording, or I'll say it when they lose in a couple weeks.
It's going to happen. Don't worry. They will go
That's
down.
right. That's right. I told all those Cowboy fans, you guys are the regular season champs. Bravo. Now the show can start. I hear the music playing, which lets me know that another episode of the DMV Mess Hall has come to an end. We thank you for riding with us, and it's been a ride. And let me tell you, buckle up, because it's about to get a lot better. And I can't wait. I'm here for it. Ted's here for it. We're hoping that you guys are here for it as well. We'll see you the next time. And remember, you rep it hard or you don't rep it at all. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted, DMV Mess Hall. We're out of here.